Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. In today's video I'm going through some of my own personal symptoms that I experienced throughout the second trimester of pregnancy. Now of course, as usual when I do stuff like this, I do just want to quickly say that obviously different people basically go through different pregnancy symptoms throughout all of the trimesters. Everybody's different and everyone's body reacts in a slightly different way to pregnancy. So this is just my personal experience with the second trimester. So as usual, when I do this video, I did one at the end of my first trimester as well. I take a piece of paper and I write down all of the symptoms that I've been having, and I want to share them with you guys and see if you guys can relate to anything that I'm saying. The first one I want to talk about is food cravings. Now, to be honest, I feel like my food cravings throughout the second trimester could have been a lot worse than what they have actually been. I'm somebody who really enjoys food. In terms of food cravings, I wasn't really all that affected. But my food cravings did start from about week 20 and they have carried on until now, until present. And my main food craving seems to be cheese. But then again, I was a massive lover of cheese to begin with, so that doesn't shock me too much. And unfortunately, I don't have any really interesting food craving stories to tell you guys so far. So I'm sat editing this video and I've just realised that I've missed out one of the symptoms, and that is restless legs. To be honest, I did suffer from restless legs prior to being pregnant, but it's never been as bad as it is now that I am actually pregnant. My restless legs have definitely gotten worse. And on a night especially, I can't get comfortable, it's really irritating, and it's really hard to get to sleep with it and to get comfortable with it. So that is another symptom that I wanted to just bring up quickly in this video. It started to get really bad possibly around the halfway point in the second trimester. So with that being said, on with the rest of the video. So this next one is also about my appetite, and I want to talk about the loss of appetite that I've experienced. Like I said, I'm a massive food lover, and I actually lost my appetite in the first trimester, and I've only recently, in the past month and a half, 2 months, started to gain it back, but it has been a slow increase in appetite. I didn't wake up one day and be like, oh, I'm really, really hungry. It was a slow, gradual return. My loss of appetite started pretty much at the start of the first trimester when I started to feel very, very sick. And then my appetite started to come back at around about week 20, and it's been gradually just getting better ever since over time. Moving on now to dizziness and lightheadedness. I started suffering with this right at the end of the first trimester, and that is something that I do still suffer with to this day as well. I just need to move around slower in general. I do get flustered and I feel very, very hot, a lot easier than I ever used to. Like, you can tell when I'm starting to get flustered. My cheeks, it just turns bright red and I can feel my face burning. Like, my hands, for example, could be absolutely fine. They could be cold even, or they could just be a nice temperature. But my face, you can really tend to see it in my face. A weird one that I'm not quite sure why this has happened is I've actually been getting a lot more hiccups than normal. And this seemed to start really at the beginning of the second trimester, and it's carried on. I'm really not sure why this is a thing. I would rarely get hiccups before being pregnant, and now during this second trimester, I really started to get hiccups like a lot, all the time. I would just randomly get hiccups like out of nowhere, like I hadn't even done anything and I was getting hiccups. A really obvious pregnancy symptom is that I now have realized that I'm definitely walking very, very differently, and it feels different in the way that I walk. I can really feel it in my back, in my hips, and in my legs, that I'm just walking differently in general. And that started at the very end of the first trimester and has obviously carried on throughout the pregnancy, throughout the second trimester, and I'm assuming that it will only get worse throughout the third trimester as well. I want to talk about baby movements because that is something that really does kick up a notch. The second trimester is really when a lot of women, around about week 20, 24, around that kind of time, a lot of women will really start to feel their baby move, and my pregnancy has been no different. Baby movements and feeling your baby move is a big part of the second trimester, and it's a massive, massive positive to the second trimester as well. And it's just the weirdest but absolutely most beautiful thing that I've ever felt in my life. And it's just weird, but in such a good way. There's no other way to describe baby movements. Moving on now to needing a wee more. This is another really obvious one when it comes to being pregnant. And I wasn't so bad in the first trimester. It seemed to be the second I got into the second trimester, my bladder was like, I need a wee. And I think sometimes it depends on the way that the baby is laying, because sometimes I'll be absolutely fine. I just went for a wee, like, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes ago, and then baby will kick me, and I would really feel this kick in my bladder, and I'm like, oh my God, I need a wee again. Continued exhaustion is another one. A lot of people say that exhaustion and the feeling of being really tired in the second trimester, it tends to die down a little bit. But I haven't felt much different. I was completely exhausted during the first trimester, and that has continued into the second trimester. People say that in the third trimester, the exhaustion comes back. So now that I'm technically now in the third trimester, I'm really not looking forward to probably even more tiredness and exhaustion. Okay, another pregnancy symptom, another really obvious one, is leaking breasts. I just was, waking up in the middle of the night and I'd have massive patches of just breast stuff. It would mark the bed sheets, it would mark any tops, like pajama tops I was wearing. So I purchased some breast pads. They've helped a lot, and I'm also wearing bras a lot more as well. With my breasts leaking, I think it seemed to be definitely more of an issue in the very end of the first trimester and then throughout the second trimester. My hair has felt thicker and frizzier. I have quite thick hair naturally anyway, so for it to feel even thicker, like sometimes it just feels like I can't style it. So this is why a lot of the time you'll see me with it just up in like a little bun type thing like this, just because I feel like sometimes I can't do anything with it because it feels that thick. Like it's hard to style. It's a lot more frizzy than what it was pre-pregnancy. And I don't know if you guys have really noticed, but being pregnant has actually made my baby hairs grow back. These little fluffy kind of random bits of like flyaway hairs that I have. I had these for years and then they disappeared, and then they've come back during pregnancy. Like you guys can see how just frizzy my hair seems to be. Like, can you guys see all of that kind of frizziness? Notice these changes about week 15, 16, and they've carried on until the present day. The second from last symptom I want to talk about is my inner thighs have been really starting to rub together. They've been doing it on and off for weeks and weeks now. It seemed to start from about week 14-ish. And then obviously it's carried on to the present day, and I'm sure in the third trimester it's not going to go away. And it's just something that's incredibly sore, it's incredibly painful. And the final one that I want to talk about today is a really personal one, and if you guys want to skip this one completely and not hear me talk about it, that's completely fine. I understand it's too much information for some people, but I want to talk about vaginal discharge a little bit. Not much. I'm not going to go too gruesome. This is my bodily parts that we're talking about here. But I want to talk about it because it is a completely normal pregnancy symptom that many women will suffer from. And it's just the fact that you get more vaginal discharge. And this seemed to happen for me from the end of the first trimester, and then it's carried on and gradually got worse throughout the second trimester. And I have no doubt that it's going to continue on into the third trimester as well. So those are my second trimester pregnancy symptoms. Obviously, your body changes so much. your belly's growing bigger, your hips are kind of wider, and I feel a lot more clumsier in the second trimester than what I did in the first trimester. For now, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you so much for watching and making it to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, leave it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button. Thank you so much once again for watching, and I very much hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys.